Hey everybody, sorry about that. Little bit of delay there. Wasn't quite ready. I just hit the camera and it just went live, just out of nowhere. But anyhow, welcome to my shopping stream where we go online and look for deals, and I try to find a few good deals ahead of time. And there are some really interesting deals. I need to double check on a couple that I saw yesterday, but the OM3 is was on sale when I looked yesterday for 16.99, and then 300 more you can get the 12 to 45 F4 Pro with it. It's really tempting for me to get a second one, but I think I'll wait. Um, anyhow, I'm just trying to keep warm here. It's so cold, but let's go ahead and get into the the shopping. I have my affiliate links down below for Amazon and maybe B&H and as well. There's some good deals there, but primarily I focus on the Amazon deals that I can find up front. And for those of you that want to look on B&H, I have an affiliate link down there as well for a lot of the same things. But I found that there's uh, generally it's you can find a broader scope of things on sale on Amazon. Uh, Whereas B&H, they're pretty much stuck to what the camera manufacturers will allow them to sell for, and also they have such a breadth of products. Uh, it's a little harder to find as good a deal sometimes, even though they do exist. They have some great backpacks on sale right now. But you guys tell me what you're looking for, and if you have any questions about any products or recommendations to help you to help you solve any challenges you might be having in your photography, I might be able to recommend an accessory or a filter or something that'll help you get that job done. Uh, but okay, so we're going to go to my shopping page, which again, there's a link down below, but it's just robtrek.com/deals, and that'll take you to all of the current deals. And I try to update that on a regular basis. I mean, almost daily, because I do so much shopping myself. I already have something in my cart from this morning, and I bought something yesterday. I'm going to try a new memory card. Let me just rearrange my screens a bit. Put this over here. Okay, and I see a lot of people here. Roger and Robert, good to see you guys. Jeff, as always. Erna, ATR Bear, Heather. And OM announced some new deals yesterday. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I saw one or two of those as well. We'll take a look. And if you're looking for something specific, if there's a lens or camera on sale that you might have some questions about, I'll do my best to answer those. We're almost there. I just need to close a couple of windows. I had a photo job yesterday from a client. I haven't done a job in almost 2 years. It was really weird, but I hope they can see the difference between my work and the work that they've been using for the last year and a half from some other photographer. Uh, I mean, to my eyes, it's night and day. Maybe to the client, it's not that much difference, right? But I can see a huge difference. Uh, but they were not happy, I guess, with what I was charging, and they wanted to get somebody cheaper. And I don't charge that much. All right, I'm almost there. I just need to. Uh, and I can show you the work later if you guys are interested, but it's just boring. It's just a office space, commercial property. Okay, and Heather, I see Heather's here. Um, I um, I ordered a V60 memory card. It's kind of an off-brand. I never heard of them before, and but it was cheap. And it seems like all the memory cards have gotten really expensive, the SD cards anyway. I haven't looked at the express cards, but it was $36 for a 256 gig V60 card. So I ordered that. It'll be on Thursday, and I'll let you know how that works out because I know you've been looking for memory cards. Okay. All right. So we have my picks today. So I found a lot of stuff. I gotta turn off. I gotta turn. Well, I can't turn this off. I have some people doing some yard work today, and I turned off my Ring cameras, but for some reason it just will not stop notifying me that there's somebody in my backyard. Okay, so uh, here's some 50% off deals for stuff that you may or may not need. You know, if you're a Canon shooter, 50% off this 4-bank charger, so you can charge 4 batteries at the same time. This for the LPE6, which they list some of the models here. The new R5s, the older full frame DSLRs. So most of their full frame cameras, right? There may be some APS-Cs in there too, but the LPE6 is a very common battery for the Canon camera. And if you have a need to charge 4 at a time, this is the time to get a charger for it. And then I'll just get through this top row, and then I'll go to the chat section because I think I saw a few questions there. And the Sony a7C RC2 CR2, nice little leather case for it, half case. And I have a very similar half case for my Leica Deluxe. And what I like about it is it's hard to see maybe through the stream, but if you look right here at this image, and I have a larger one on the right, what it does is they separate the 1/4 20 screw from the screw to mount the half leather case. So that takes a lot of wear and tear off the 1/4 20 screw on the body of your camera, and it reinforces everything and puts the entire load onto the metal frame on the bottom. So there's a nice thick metal frame at the bottom. It's not Arca Swiss. I prefer when the bottom plate is also Arca Swiss as well. But these A7C cameras are typically handheld, right? These are like street cameras, right? And so you're not going to be. But if you want, you can put one of your one of those little what do you call it? Arca Swiss plates or what have you, those Peak Design plates, etc., onto the bottom, and it's not going to be mounted directly to your camera. It's going to be mounted to the bottom plate. So this half leather case, the aesthetics are nice, right? It's a nice taupe color, but the primary thing is it protects the bottom of your camera, and you still have access to the battery. You don't have to take the case off to get to the battery. But it does a really good job protecting the bottom of the camera and the 1/4 20 mount, and giving your camera a little more rigidity and protection. So I really like these half leather cases that have a full metal plate on the bottom. And it's half off. I paid $90 for mine when I got it. So it's good. I'd have rather paid $49, but that's not what I paid. But that's a good deal, $50. And then another Sony accessory here. The ZV-1s, the ZV-1 Mark II, the RX100s, these cameras have these tiny batteries. So for $8, you can get a little travel charger and a couple of spares. The spares never last as long as the OEM stuff, right? But they work pretty well. And, it's just a no-brainer. If you have one of these cameras, for $8, you can get a couple of spares. And I like to keep these kind of things, the charger at least, in my car, So I always have, if you look in my cup holder area or my little tray that I have, I got like 5 or 6 different types of chargers in there for the various cameras that I have. And all I have to do is bring the batteries. Never leave batteries in your car. Just a warning. Never leave batteries in your car. But chargers, no problem. Okay, and then this is a nice little tripod. It has a nice metal ball head. Okay, an Arca Swiss clamp, metal legs, and flip locks. And it also converts to a monopod, and it has a pretty good height. It's 49 inches without raising the center column. So that'll bring it up to about here on me, right? Chest height. And then when you add the camera, you just have to bend down a little bit, but you'll have maximum stability without extending the center column. And you can raise it up a little bit to get up to 70 inches here. Well, 68.5 inches, which is more than enough. That would put the camera over my head at 68.5 inches. So it's been a long time since I've seen a really good deal on a tripod, and this is a good deal. These are great tripods to have as a backup. If you already have a good solid I mean, this is an entry-level tripod, okay? But these make great backups. I keep one in the house. I keep one in the trunk of the car. For doing various projects and things that I like to do, like I'll get the inspiration to go do some macro and I can just take this tripod out and use it, and I don't have to use my high-end tripods all the time, right? So I like these as backup tripods, or if you're on a really tight budget and you're just getting started, this is a great tripod to start with, because there's a lot of tripods at this price point that suck. Okay, they really suck, but this is a decent tripod for the price. Okay, and then last is this kind of stylish bag here. 25 bucks. It'll hold a lot of stuff, a lot of pockets. The strap is built into the bag, which is my preference. Nice buckles on the front to close the flap, and it's also zippers closed. So really, really good protection for your gear. Lots of pockets to separate things like batteries. Always keep your batteries separate, and another space for cables and filters to keep everything. And then looks like there's a little space there for a smaller iPad or phone or something here in the back. They say you can fit an 11-inch iPad. That's pretty good size. I had to take my iPad with me yesterday, and I stuck it in the back of my backpack here. So this was my bag for the photo job yesterday. I slid my iPad back here. Because they wanted me to do some floor plans and stuff, so I use an app to do that on my iPad. And of course, I use my OM1 and Godox flashes for the rest. But this is a nice little backpack. So if you want something that's not just the usual plain black canvas bag, this is a nice alternative, and it's 25 bucks. That's a good deal for a shoulder bag with this kind of capacity and features. Looks like it also has tripod straps on the bottom. But I don't like to overpack a shoulder bag because it gets heavy, right? Okay, so that's the top row. So let me, there's lots of good stuff down here too, which I'll get into, but let me get to the chat section real quick. Where's my chat window? Here we go. So again, Roger, good morning, and Robert, and the great Vanzini, good to see you, and Jeff, and Erna. Erna has a question here. Are DSLRs still worth buying, or mirrorless cameras have too many benefits at this point? What are my thoughts? Okay, so they're very different cameras, right? I wouldn't say one format's better than the other. It's just a matter of preference in your workflow, and most notably the EVF and OVF. So you have a real optical viewfinder where you're actually looking through the lens, and so you can frame everything in basically real time, right? Uh, you won't see the exposure changes, but everything you need to know is in the display. And generally, you want to expose as you see the way you see the scene, right? You don't want to make it too bright or too dark, generally speaking. And I really enjoy using an optical viewfinder. Uh, it was one of the reasons when I started in photography, I switched from a Sony to a Nikon DSLR. I actually started with a Sony NEX6 with an electronic viewfinder, and I just didn't enjoy the experience. So I switched to the Nikon optical viewfinder DSLRs because that's all they had at the time. They weren't into mirrorless back then. And I probably did that for about 3 years before I switched over to OM systems where size, or Olympus size and weight kind of trumped the optical viewfinder experience. So uh, that's the primary difference, right? I think with respect to everything else, there's not much difference between the cameras. The image quality is very, very similar, if not identical in many cases. And the controls and buttons and dials. A lot of times the DSLRs have more buttons and dials, and the ergonomics are better. The handling is better because they have a full solid grip. I went out with my DSLRs this weekend. I took out my two Pentaxes just this weekend. And these things are massive, right? But I was very happy to shoot with them. Using the optical viewfinder, uh, and this one's the color. This one's a monochrome. It was weird when I was framing things in full color through the EVF, and then getting a black and white image. Because with digital cameras that have an electronic viewfinder, you see the images in black and white. And I would say that that's the key advantage of DSLRs is that optical viewfinder. That experience of shooting with an optical viewfinder, I think, is the best way to shoot. But that said, the electronic viewfinder does have the advantages of seeing the exposure as you're shooting it. So if you want to underexpose, overexpose a scene, you can see that in real time through the electronic viewfinder. And then they have all kinds of overlays of like your histogram and things like that. Uh, but yeah, mirrorless, the primary benefit right now is they generally tend to be smaller and lighter. Uh, and you have the electronic viewfinder. The DSLRs with the optical viewfinder, I think for me is a better experience. When doing photography, I enjoy it more with an optical viewfinder. And it's real time. There's no lag. There's no question that what you capture is what you just saw, right? Um, and the handling of a DSLR, they always have more buttons and dials on them, generally speaking. Even like if you look at a modern DSLR like the K3 Mark III, there's a ton of buttons right there, right? And a joystick, and then you go to the top, and there's another 1, 2, 3 dials and 3 buttons, and the shutter button, fourth dial here in the front of the grip, and then on the side, more buttons and dials and switches. So they DSLRs tend to have more buttons, dials, switches, right? So you can quickly access things. So I think the workflow on a DSLR is also a little better as opposed to mirrorless cameras. A lot of them, you have to dive in the menu for everything, right? Especially the OM3, everything is kind of in the menu. Uh, and the other thing I like about DSLRs is a lot of times you can find the lenses a lot cheaper, right? Because they're just kind of out of style now. And you don't have, and you can buy vintage lenses for DSLRs natively. You don't have to use an adapter or anything. You can just buy the native vintage lens for them. So if you like to shoot vintage lenses with manual focus and all of that, you can generally find a good vintage lens for any format. You know, Canon has a lot of great vintages, Pentax, of course, Nikon, the and you, you know there was just a ton of vintage lenses out there for cheap that you can use and get a lot of character in your images that way. So the good thing is you can buy like I only paid I think like $200 or $300 for this K3, and I bought this 17 to 50 for like another $200. So roughly $500. I got an f2.8 constant normal zoom, right? And 26, I think it's a 26 megapixel sensor in here, APS-C, for $500. Yeah, it's heavy, but I got the optical viewfinder. I got a ton of controls, buttons, and dials, and great ergonomics and handling. You know, this just feels really good in the hand. So it's just all about what you prefer, right? So I wouldn't want that as my primary camera because I prioritize size and weight. So my OM3 is my primary camera because all of the lenses and the camera itself are all smaller, lighter. Uh, and then one last key advantage of the DSLR is the battery life. You can go for weeks or a month without ever changing the battery, charging the battery, you know, depending how you use it. But if you just shoot primarily photos, and you're not chimping or pixel peeping a lot in camera, battery lasts you a long time. I mean, just just indefinitely. I keep my batteries topped off no matter what, but I never have to worry about battery life when I'm shooting a DSLR at all. I never have to bring a spare. So I hope that helps. So I think the DSLR still is a great format, even though mirrorless is pretty much taken over because it does have a lot of advantages, and it is I think how younger people like to shoot because a lot of people might be transitioning from cell phones or you know little digicams, right? And they just prefer the full digital experience. But the DSLR I think is just gives you a more authentic, kind of nostalgic way to do photography, right? But it does have a lot of benefits. Size and weight is not one of them, though. And sound and video is good. Thank you. Thank you. And ATR Bear, good to see you. And Om announced, oh, yeah, we need to look at those. And let's see. And the Great Vanzini, love my DSLRs. Yeah, I love mine. I love mine. Wow. Rob, you got a great deal. 1,100 bucks. I think the OM3 is grossly underrated. I just watched Tony Northrup. Uh, I don't watch a lot of camera channels in general, actually, but I did catch his 2025 awards, whatever he calls it. He talked about 2025 cameras released, and he gave OM Systems an F because they only released an OM3 and an OM5, and he said it's old tech and all of that. It just shows what he prioritizes innovation in his reviews, and uh, so I'll give him that. There's nothing in the OM3 or OM5 that OM System didn't have before, but he didn't even mention the 50 to 200 f2.8 lens, which you know is an amazing lens. And he complained about the price. He's still hung up on, you know, gosh, you know, $1,800, $2,000 for a micro four thirds camera. He just can't get over it. But excuse me. Uh, I forgot why I brought that up. I wonder if DSLRs, yeah, I'm afraid they will. I mean, Pentax is committed to making DSLRs, but you know, it's been how many years since they released one? And Raphael says, "Hi, OM3 is a ridiculous low price on Amazon, 1214 body." Yeah, man, that is crazy. Just make sure it comes with warranty, because some of the products on Amazon can be, uh, international versions, right? And you won't get the warranty for your country, with the camera. So at that price point, though, I wouldn't worry about it. It's better than buying a used one, right? And Amazon has a very liberal return policy. I'm not sure in the UK if it's different, but here in the US, it's very liberal. So if you have any issues at all with the camera or the seller or the warranty, you can just return it within a certain window with Amazon directly. Just keep in mind that if you are getting an international version, the warranty work is going to be questionable, right? You wouldn't be able to send it directly to OM Systems. You'd probably have to send it back to the seller, and then they would initiate some sort of repair or replacement. And Roger says maybe you can become an associate for Hunt's Photo and Video to cover us in the Northeast. I don't know if they have any kind of affiliate or associate program. I am an affiliate for B&H, which is the Northeast, right? Granted, though, Hunt's does have some pretty exclusive deals sometimes. I mean, they were selling the OM3 for less than Amazon or anywhere else for for a little while anyway. I don't think it's still on sale, but uh, it's just a little bit random with Hunt's, right? You have to be on it all the time looking for deals from them. I mean, I get emails from them, but they don't always they don't always show the best deal on something I might be looking for. Uh, it's they only highlight the more popular products, Canon, Nikon, Sony, but I don't recall seeing an email about the OM3 being $1,600. That was crazy. And good morning, Dan. Good to see you. And Heather says, that's how I got into trouble. Cheap because it was a micro SD and I had no clue how bad that was. Thanks for testing it for us. Okay. So, yeah, this memory card, let me see. It's way down. It's this one. It's on my deal page. So I ordered this yesterday. So I'm going to get this in. The thing is, the price has been very steady. This hasn't gone up or down in the last 3 months. And I just ignored it because just a no name in my opinion. So I read the reviews. You can see it has a 4.6 star rating. Take that with a grain of salt. But when I get the card in, I'll be able to at least test the speed and capacity, and that's about it. I'm not going to be able to test the durability because you have to use it for 6 months, a year before you can really say, yeah, this card is solid, right? But if it does work, meaning I can compare it against, the main thing is the heat management that's in the card. Now, from what I understand, there are not too many SD card fabricators out there, meaning manufacturers. So this might just be a rebranded SanDisk or high-end brand. I don't know. In which case, this is a steal. Or this could be some cheap Chinese knockoff fake memory card, right? And I'll find out. But if it does have a full 256 gig capacity, it does perform at the V60 rates, like 200 megabits or better, then I'm going to recommend this card at this price point uh, until it dies, if it ever dies. I don't know. Like I said, I can't test durability, but I can test the heat management in it, because when you're reading and writing to the card, it gets hot, right? It heats up, I should say. It's not going to burn your fingers, but it heats up, and the card will negotiate the transfer rate to reduce the temperature. So there's a heat management built into these SD cards, or there should be. So I want to test, how quickly does the heat management kick in, compared to, say, one of my brand name cards like my OWCs and my SanDisk, and I have some PNYs. I think I have I don't have a Sabrin, but I do have some solid brands, ProMaster, uh, ProGrade. I have some pretty solid brands, and I know how they perform, and I know their speed, and I know their heat management capability, and they're pretty solid. They, so if this compares similarly with the heat management and transfer rate, I would suspect this is probably just a rebranded memory card of another major brand. Okay, and Marco's here. Good to see you, Marco. And let's see, Chuck. I feel DSLR's cameras fit a bit better in the hand because of thickness. Yeah, so the ergonomics, right? And Katznell says, if you owned the Sony A1 Mark II, would you get a second A1 II body or an A7 IV as a second body? I guess it would depend on what my needs are, right? If I'm strictly wildlife uh, shooter, then yeah, I would definitely get two A1s and go for it. If if I was, say, and I assume the motivation of getting two different bodies is to save a little money on the second one, or maybe the second one offers something that the other one does not. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything the A7 V has over the A1 Mark II. Maybe there's some video specs in there. But let's say the video specs are better in A7 V, then I would get, and I do a lot of video, I would probably get two A7 Vs. But it would just depend on my workflow and what my requirements are. That would dictate if I need two of the same. So I'll give you an example. I have an OM1, and I'll bring an EM5 Mark III as a backup, right? It's not quite as capable as the OM1 for uh, in a lot of ways, right? But for the work that I'm doing, the M5 Mark III is just fine. The work that I would do, like the job that I did yesterday, just a commercial property. You don't need, 50 frames per second to do a commercial property. All I need is exposure bracketing, basically, and flash capability. So if the OM1, for whatever reasons, failed on site, I have an EM5, which is very small, compact, lightweight, that I can just kind of stuff in the corner of the bag and carry that. The A1 Mark II and the A7 V are about the same size, so it's not like, you can just stuff the A7 V in just into the corner of the bag. You have to make space for an A7 V with the A1. Whereas, yeah, the M5 Mark III, without the lens on, just it's only like this big, and it just fits right in. So I don't have a basically like Katzenelli Bog. I don't have a simple answer for that. It just would depend on what my requirements are. And John follows. Good to see you. And Peter, morning all. Have you any idea why the distance scales are not put on modern barrels? Because they're all autofocus lenses, generally speaking. A lot of the manual focus lenses from third party do come with the focus scales on them, and that's why. Just you know, the pro lenses from OM Systems, Olympus, that have the focus clutch, they have the focus scales inside the clutch. When you pull it back, there's a little scale there. So they do have them, but generally they're autofocus lenses, and that's why they don't bother. And Henning, good to see you. And Roger says, do you have any deals on tripod head that you can set to horizon level and allow Oh, okay. I'll look for. I didn't look for those. I didn't look for them specifically, but I didn't run across any deals while I was going through everything. I spent a couple hours going through all the different deals in all the different categories, and tripods are one of them. But I didn't look specifically for tripod heads, so I'll take a look for you. I'm almost caught up on the chat. Then I will get back to it. If only the OM3 had a more comfortable to use back button focus. I've tried times, but cannot convert myself to shutter focus. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I would have a hard time shifting to back button focus. But I don't feel like the OM3 is that bad for back button focus. It has a dedicated button for it, but I get it. There's no grip, so it is a little bit awkward, right? To hold a camera holding the shutter button or getting ready to push the shutter button while your thumb is on the AF button. Whereas on a camera with a grip, it's a little bit more natural placement of your finger and thumb. It seems like, yeah, it's a little bit awkward on the OM3, even with the tiny grip that I put on there. And Rob says, I thought my OM3 was Australian, but was gray market. Anyway, OM3 is the best. Why did I wait? Yeah, why did you wait, man? Because you're waiting for a better deal. I think it was worth the wait. And Tony didn't seem too happy with anybody. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day when he made the video. I'm trying to think. You know, he seemed to like one of them. Uh, but he's I don't know. I didn't think it was I thought all of his points were very fair, but he was harsh, right? Just giving somebody an F because there's no new innovation. I mean, I think the OM3, just the styling alone was a big step for OM systems. And uh, definitely, if let me tell you, if OM system didn't release the OM3 in the style that it is, yeah, I'd be harping on OM systems as well. I'd be like, give us something, right? Even if they gave us an OM1 Mark II, I don't know, whatever it is, they did give us an OM. I'm saying, excuse me, OM1 Mark III. I would still not be too enthusiastic because those are work cameras to me, right? And more hardcore, like very purpose specific. The OM3 is, in my opinion, like an enthusiast camera, right? That does everything. Yeah, there's a couple of compromises, single card slot, lower EVF, but those are minor for the enthusiast. Those are not a big deal. So I think the release of the OM3 in of itself gives OM System an A plus in my opinion. Okay, and greetings from Turkey, Vulcan. Uh, on the OM3, all my photos are saved into the same folder. Is there any way to automatically create a new folder? Not that I know of. You can create a folder after you do about 300 or 400 shots and start saving them there, but yeah, there's no way to automatically do it. And Heather says, Emily Talpin has some relationship with Hunch. You might know. Okay. And Roger says, just because Hunt's has physical stores that we shop at. Yes. 'Cause, 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 Cameras need to come with internal storage. I'm sick of failing cards. Yeah. I don't know why that didn't catch on because even in the Digicam days, some of the cameras had internal memory. Uh, so I don't know why that didn't catch on more. And especially now that we have very fast USB 3 speeds, USB-C uh, speeds, it makes even more sense to have internal memory, right? You just plug the camera in and offload like my little, I just unplugged it. All of my Insta360 cameras, I never take the memory cards out. I just plug it into my computer and offload, and it offloads just as fast as if I took the memory card and stuck it into the computer directly. So faster in some cases, depending on your computer. But uh, yeah, so I'm with you on that. And Shri is here. Good to see you, Shri. And Henning says, EM Tech cards are China or Taiwan made, although brand itself is French. Failure rate higher than Sony. Okay. Fine casual use. Wouldn't rely too much. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, so do you have a reference for that? Like that well, I guess I can do some due diligence on the card. I just saw $37 and I was like, well, if it does what it's supposed to, but like I said, I don't know the durability. And Henning says, it's not the grip, it's the button. That's simply too small. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is a little bit the same as all the other buttons on the camera. I'll grant you that. Oh, yeah, the Sigma BF. That's the one. Thank you for reminding me. He really liked that camera. And he gave it too much credit, though, for like he gave the BF all this credit for design and gave nothing to the OM3 for design. And the OM3 is a better camera in every way, in my opinion. But I do like the BF a lot. One of the things I liked about it, the design, of course, I think is gorgeous, and that's subjective. But objectively speaking, it had a really neat cropping feature in camera. So you know how we can do 16 by 9, you know, 3 by 2, 1 by 1 crop ratios, right, in our OM System Olympus cameras. They had an additional one that was a super wide, like panorama type cropping. I really like that. The raw image will still be the full, 3 by 2 aspect, but they also had like a 65 by 24, some really wide aspect ratio in the camera. And I thought the menu system was fairly intuitive. Once the guy, because I went to a show to go look at one, and the guy showed me, well, this is how you get into this is how you get into that. And then once he showed me a couple of things, I was able to get into everything, because from there it was pretty consistent, right? So I really liked the BF, because I've been talking about how I want to get back into the L mount system for the lenses. The lenses are so good in the L mount system uh, at the price point, right? And yeah, but the BF has just a little bit too many compromises. I'm not a fan of no flash or hot shoe. Okay, so I have to use LED lighting if I want to have some artificial light. And LED lighting has its pros and cons, but generally LED lighting I use in a studio. The only time I might use LED lighting in the field is for macro work. So no flash. Battery, if I recall, is not replaceable. That's a problem. Um, but before I say that, let me look at one. I don't think there's any battery door. And the way it's constructed, it'd probably be a pain in the butt to replace it eventually. Oh. So, I like very unique, distinct cameras. So I'm thinking about this camera. But the other thing Tony gave this too much credit for was, talking about how manufacturers don't, build a camera from the ground up. This is not a ground up camera. This is basically a Panasonic S9. It's just repackaged in a nice aluminum shell. And, I'm oversimplifying it, of course, right? I don't want to take away all the engineering that went in to repackage basically an S9, but, uh, he made it sound like nobody else has a camera like this. And I'm like, there's a Panasonic S9. It's identical, size, weight, image quality. Everything is pretty much the same, except the S9 has about 10 times as many features, right? And buttons and dials and all of that. And a cold shoe at least, so you can mount an LED light. You can't even mount an LED light on a BF. So that's why I had an opportunity to get one, and I just couldn't do it because I was thinking, wow, the battery's a big deal. I'd like to be able to swap batteries in the field. Because if I just type in Sigma BF battery, dedicated battery for the Sigma BF. Oh, they do have them. Okay. Well, there's that. All right, so I'm going to take back everything I said. Right? They have it right here. So I don't know. I don't know. I have to give it some thought. I mean, but because it's $2,000 or $2,200, there's a lot of other cameras I'd probably rather have. And Tony Northrup in New York, all alone for a while now, did something. Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I don't keep up with Tony. But if there is anything, Chelsea, call me. Okay. Internal memory failed just like SD cards. They're just using end as well. Less risk because it's not being handled, but ultimately the same NN flash being used. Yes. So Marco is comparing the internal memory to an SSD, right? I can't remember what NN flash is, but generally speaking, the life of an SSD is 3 to 5 years on paper, right? Depending how much it read and write. And as the SSD degrades, there's a controller in the SSD that identifies holes in the memory, and then it just readdresses those and locks those out. Uh, but at some point, it's going to degrade to a point that you can't use it anymore, right? So, and the NAND is, I guess, one of the technologies they use to extend the life. I can't remember. It's been too long since I've looked at SSDs when I was into all of that. It will fail eventually, but I don't think in my lifetime it will. What do I got? 15 years left? And hello and good morning. Good morning. And Chuck, Gordon Lang or bust. Haha. Gordon Lang is one of the best in the business, man. He does reviews. I, you know, he does two things really well. He's really thorough, covers everything, right? And two, he's very, very consistent. So when you watch a review from say 5 years ago to today, it's pretty much the same in terms of content. You know, he covers it because he's very thorough. Um, that's one of my weaknesses. I do reviews on lenses and flashes, and depending on what it is, my reviews are very different video to video. There's not a consistent theme to, unlike Chris, I forget his name, the guy that does all the lens reviews. Um, he has a very consistent methodology to testing lenses. You know, I don't. You know, if I get a lens of a certain focal length, I'm looking, how does it perform for the kind of things you'd be using it for, right? And Fade says, Rob, I bought the inserts from Colatron waterproof DSLR camera bag with removable insert. Have you used them before? I have not. Not familiar with that. Let me take a look. Colatron waterproof DSLR inserts. So are we talking about this thing? I haven't used the ones from Colatron, but I do have one third party, like some generic one that I paid like $5 for or something when it was on sale. They're very, very handy in a backpack because a lot of our Micro Four Thirds gear is so small, you know, compared to what a lot of backpacks are designed to carry, like full on DSLRs, right? So uh, I can pack, you know, my OM3 and a few lenses into a little case like this and put that in my backpack so I have additional protection. The stuff is not just moving around because you know, what's their name? Wow, my brain. How can I not remember K&F Concepts? They give you a lot of dividers, but it's never enough. And so this gives you the additional dividers and a better way to pack things in your backpack. At least that's how I use it. You could buy a second OM3 for 2K. Yeah, exactly right. Instead of a BF. Should I risk an OM3? I would not. Just buy an OEM. Uh, yeah, just buy OEM and buy it from a reputable dealer that sells OM systems gear. Or an OM1 Mark II. Yes, the same battery. Yeah, Chris Frost. Thank you, Chris Frost. Very consistent methodology. Uh, you know, lens to lens to lens, right? Christopher Frost. Thank you. And I've used third-party batteries in my OM1 with no issue. Need to wash. They do not get hot and expand that you can't remove them. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm always I always see David out there with his third-party batteries. I mean, they don't last as long for one, and then like he's mentioned, they have the risk of expanding. But honestly, you only need to buy one extra battery because the battery life in OM3 is really good. I rarely have to swap batteries. The only time I have to swap batteries in my OM3 is because you know, like when I'm doing birding and wildlife for more than a couple of hours, because I'm just mashing the shutter button for pro capture and high speed shutter and all of that. Uh, you tend to go through batteries a lot faster when you're doing that kind of photography. But for just photo walks and stuff, I've gone all day. Like I'll do a few hours in the morning, a few hours in the afternoon, then I'll go out the next morning. I'm using the same battery, right? No problem. I get really good battery life. I even did a job with it where I did a couple of hours of video and took, I don't know, 100 pictures maybe. I was primarily using, I think, the Canon to do the photos. But, uh, for the video, the OM3, man, I got a couple hours of 4K video and 100 or so photos. I can't remember exactly. And the battery was fine. The Canon I had to replace 3 times. But it's the Canon that uses the tiny batteries, the R8. And OM has a sale on some accessories, 20% off. Okay. Yeah, if you're looking at any particular accessories, let me know. I can probably give you my opinion on it if you're interested. Okay. Uh, there was a question about, let me see, shopping for something in particular. I need to find, once I find it, I know somebody was asking me about, oh, tripod heads for doing panos, right? I found a really interesting tool. I think it was on B&H. Um, let me see if I can find it. It's not, you don't even have to change your tripod head. You can just use this. It's basically a rotator, but it was an Arca Swiss plate combo rotator thing. Uh, I should have bookmarked it because there's a really cool. Here it is. Discontinued. But basically, you have the Arca Swiss plate here and a separate rotator here. And they were selling it for cheap. What the heck? How much were they asking for it before? It was $20 off, but they don't show the price. So this would basically, you could use any tripod. So let's go to my deal page. And I forget, Roger, you were looking to be able to set the horizon level and do vertical movement swings. So that other device would not help that I just showed, that other accessory, because there are variations of that are not discontinued. They're still available. But here's my tripod. Let me see if I have bookmarked a few items. So there's this one. There's this one. This is a little smaller one, but that's the same thing. Here's a rotator you can still buy from Sure. But it doesn't have leveling, right? You'd have to put this on your ball head, level your ball head, then you could rotate it. So let me open this one. We'll talk about that one. These are indexers. Okay. All right, so this one is a little small, but it has a pretty good capacity, and it'll be fine if you use like your OM3 or OM1 or EM10, whatever, with most of the regular lenses. I would not put like a 300 f4 Pro on here or a 100 to 400. I wouldn't put any of the big telephotos and use this, but if you're going to use it with, say, uh, any of the f4 lenses, any of the f2.8 lenses, except for the 150, except for the 40 to 150 f2.8. That you could probably use on here as well, actually. That's kind of pushing it, though. The 40 to 150 f2.8 would be pushing it a little bit on this. But the 40 to 150 f4, all of the f4 lenses, all of the f2.8s, you know, primes and zooms, except for the 50 to 200 that they have out now. The bigger telephotos I wouldn't use on this. But this has a separate, you know, leveling. You know, inverted ball head is going to give you this flexibility. This is not on sale, but this is a quality ball head. I've seen this one in person at a show, and I was going to buy it, but they just didn't have them in stock. So I ended up buying my Photo Pro tripod, which is in the car. But I would have bought this instead if they had it. But I ended up buying my Photo Pro because this was not in stock. Here's a Photo Pro fluid head. It's not on sale. Where's the price history button? Let's see how it's been doing. So they did drop the price $10. I do remember that. So there's a small window where it was $39. This one has a very good capacity for weight. Again, I'd probably not use any of the big telephotos, but just about any f4 and f2.8 lens other than the telephotos, super telephotos, this will be perfectly fine. This one will work with them all, but it doesn't have a leveling base. You'd have to buy one separately. But this has the leveling. This has the fluid head so you can tilt up and down. And then the rotation is separate from the leveling, right? So you can do multi-row panos and get really good stitching with this. This is basically the ball head or fluid head that's on my Photo Pro tripod. But you can buy it separately like this. And then this one is from Newer. It's probably the same thing, just rebranded. What's the capacity here? 4 kilos, right? What was the capacity of this? This was probably also 4. Oh, this is 3 kilos. I think they're the same thing, though. No, they're different. They are a little bit different. But either one of these, right? These are small, though, okay? So what you have to look at is the base here. They usually give the dimensions. 37 millimeter base. So you want to measure the base of the tripod that you'd be mounting this onto. That, you know, most of them are probably 45 to 60 millimeter diameter, like in that range. So it's going to be bigger than the fluid head here. Hence the capacity is not there, 3-4 kilos, right? But that's one. So let's scroll down and see if there's anything on sale. I don't see. Yeah, none of these have a leveling base. But, you know, if you look on my deal page, right, you can buy a leveling base separately. So you have two different styles here. Because if you want more capacity, in terms of weight, you want to use a super telephoto, you're going to have to buy a bigger fluid head. And most of the bigger fluid heads don't have a built-in leveling base. So you'd have to get a leveling base separately. This one here is fast, and it will get you probably 90% there. This type of leveling base. I mean, they're a little expensive. There's some cheaper ones here. Wellian's a good brand. 22-pound capacity. I'll add this to the list. I'm going to put this in my tripod folder. And I also have one of these. This one here is a little bit slower to set, but you have a lot more precision. Okay, so you level it with the two dials in the rear first to get the angle right for the leveling, and then you turn the front wheel to do the pitch. And then once you have the leveling base set, then you can use your one of the heavier duty, I guess would be this one. Wellian, this was a, is this still a, yeah, this one's really good. You know, $59.99, then another 30-40 bucks for the leveling base, so about $100. But if you're going to do, you know, you can see this has an 8 kilo load. What's the load rate on this one? This one's probably also 8 kilos. This one's 15 kilos. So you can spend $30 more and get a heavier weight one. Sunwave Photo is really good too. But you would buy this and a separate leveling base, and your choices for leveling bases, this kind, which is a little more precise, and ultimately I think this is the better of the two, and it's cheaper. Well, not cheaper, but this is the better of the two if you really want that precision. But if you just need a quick and dirty, you know, that the other one that I showed you, this Wellian type leveling base, and there's other variations of this. This one's not available. Like this Wellian. Maybe it's the same thing. These are fast, right? But it gets you there like 90%, but you still might be off slightly. And it's a pain in the butt to get it exactly right. You never get it exactly right. You don't have that precision. But a lot of people prefer this because they just want to level it very quickly and get started taking pictures. Whereas the other one, you have to get your tripod pretty much level first, and then you do the precision work with the dials, right? Whereas this one, you have a little more flexibility. Your tripod doesn't have to be perfectly level first. You know, it can be a little off and you can adjust it quickly. You're like 90% there. The other one, you get your tripod as level as you can first. Usually the tripod has its own bubble level, and then you use the dials for that precision. So I don't see any particular deals. The most I've ever seen, like we were looking at the price history, is like 10 bucks, right? I think for 10 bucks, I don't know if it's worth waiting for if you just want to start to get into it, because I think you've been looking at this for a long time. If you can wait some more, a deal will come up. So just go to my tripod deal page and just look at the things there. Click on one of the items, even if it's not on sale, and then scroll down like I was doing here. Scroll down at the bottom and see if you can find basically the same thing that's on sale. Like I know I paid I paid like $18 or $19 for mine because I waited. This one's 40. I got this one. This is the one I bought, but I only paid like $18 for it. Because I waited, you know. But right now I don't see. There's one for 23. That's not bad. 26. Let me look at this one for 23 real quick. Yeah, this looks fine. So I'll add this to the deal page. It just has a smaller bubble level. It's a little harder to see, but if you want to save like $10, you can get this one. And then or you can get the one with the big bubble level, right? And then this one I'm going to add to my I'll add this to my tripod and my deal page. So, again, these things, you just have to look at the measurements, right? So this is 68 millimeters in diameter, the base. So that'll dictate when you buy your fluid head. The fluid head on this one, it's probably 60. Where are the dimensions at? Usually they give you the dimensions. But it's probably a 60 is my guess. So this will fit no problem. Okay. So hopefully that helped you in, you know, going through different ideas or different, because your main thing is really what camera lens combination you're going to use. Just if you're going to be more than 4 kilos, you need to step up your game a whole nother level. It's going to basically double the cost, right? Okay, let's see. Do you use a charger? I get scared the USB will break over time if used every day. Yes, 99% of the time I use a separate charger for my batteries. And you can buy any generic battery. I have a couple of recommendations, I think, on my page. This one I like a lot. It's probably all the way at the bottom. Yeah, so on my deal page down here, I like this one. I've been using this since 2022, right? But the reason I like this is because I bought a couple of these. But you can swap the plates like this. So as you can see, I have one for my Pentax, one for my OM1, OM3. And so what I can do is I can take this one charger, charge two batteries at the same time. So because a lot of times I take different brand cameras with me, right? And I know you have different brand cameras. You have your EM10, you have your Sony, you have your OM3 now. You can get one of these chargers. This is a little different variation of the same thing, but you can get one of these things and put your spares in here, one for your OM3, one for your Sony when you go out in the field, right? And have them always charged and ready to go. So that's why I buy that kind of charger, this one in particular. And then I'll look for the same charger that uses with, for a different battery. So I've bought 2 or 3 of these at least over time, because I have one for my Canon, one for my Leica Deluxe, and all of that. Okay. Meant for the battery, but yeah, I try to minimize using the USB-C port because I'm with you on that. For example, the USB-C port on my Samsung, which is now my phone, which is now 4 years old. Yeah, it doesn't work anymore because I always charge the battery using the USB-C port. Now I have to charge it wirelessly, so I had to go buy a wireless charger to charge it. So fortunately, this has wireless charging, but if it didn't, I'd be SOL. Shree says it was $14.95 Benro 360 from B&H. Oh, okay, thanks. So you saw that too, right? Okay. And Eric is here. Good to see you. David, I use the USB-C port on my OM1. I know Rob doesn't trust it. Yeah. So the other thing with if you're using a generic battery and charging in camera, the battery gets hot and might swell, and you'll never get your battery out. Trust me, I've heard plenty of stories like that where the battery got stuck in the camera because it swole because they always charge it with the USB-C port. So um, I'm not saying an OEM original battery doesn't do that, but I just don't like the idea of running voltage through the motherboard of the camera all the time if I don't have to. And the BLX1 from Home System is $134 and out of stock. Ooh. You should get it on B&H or District Camera or, anybody that's an authorized dealer for OM systems. You can buy the OEM battery for, and you can trust it's an OEM. But let's see if B&H has one. $109. Oof. I remember these were on sale for like $69 at one point. And this is a generic for $89. Oh, a Watson generic. A lot of people like Watson as a brand for batteries. And B&H wouldn't sell it if it wasn't a decent battery, right? I know that the Wasabi and a million other brands out there, in every single case, they've all swollen on me, or they don't last that long. I've never bought a Watson battery, but a lot of people say they last pretty much the same, and they don't have any problems with it. But I can't, I've never bought one. I can't speak to it. When I bought my OM1 a couple years ago, I bought an extra battery. Or, no, when I bought my OM1, the promotion was free battery with your OM1. So they gave you an additional battery, no charge, when you bought the OM1. So that's how I got my spare. So between my OM1 and OM3, I have 3 batteries in total. So I have one that's in rotation, right? That I put on the charger and charge. And then when I go out for a shoot, I just swap them. And like I said, I've almost never had to bring a second battery. The only time I bring a second battery is when, particularly in the wintertime, it's really cold. It kills the battery life. But it's only when I'm birding, and using Pro Capture a lot. But it's worth it. It's worth it to get an OEM. Yeah, you don't need to buy the OEM charger. You can buy these generic ones for $12, and they're better in my opinion. They don't charge as fast, supposedly. That's okay. You don't want to charge your batteries fast. You want to charge them slowly. They'll last longer. I mean, the lifetime of the battery will be better. They won't last longer in your camera, but the lifetime will be better. Because, charging them fast generates heat, and heat is the enemy of batteries. Multi-use charger, what a great idea. Yep. And my 13-year-old Canon BP511 is still going strong. Well, probably about 70% of the original. Yeah. I don't know how old the one in this Pentax K3 is. Or my Nikon DF. Those suckers are old. This one, yeah, there's no date on it. And it's a generic at that. But it's going in a DSLR. So I'll probably still get like 1,000 shots out of this camera. And like I said, I'm also in the habit of charging. The night before, if I'm going to go out, I charge everything, you know, that for the cameras and flashes and gear that I'm going to be taking with me. Same in Australia, all out of stock. Oh, yeah. It's in stock here at B&H, but I don't know what in Australia what you can get. Okay, let's go back to my deal page. I'm going to show you guys a couple of more things because I didn't even get to the second row yet. Okay, oh, I did get to the second row. So I talked about this tripod, this bag. This low pro bag is a good deal. I mean, low pro, you don't have to worry about the quality, durability. If you buy their bag, it's going to last you a lifetime. So all you have to do is look for the capacity. Comes with plenty of dividers, and it's going to be very durable and rugged. So all you have to do is really consider the capacity and basic features, right? So this one opens up in the rear, has a side pocket, has a tripod holder, has some rigidity here in the base, so it'll stand up. They didn't put any feet down here, which I tend to prefer. Comes with a rain cover. So, you know, if you want like no questions asked kind of deal on a quality low pro bag, this is a good deal. This is a good deal, and it's a good bag. You're paying a little bit of a brand tax because it's low pro, but low pro is kind of known for affordable bags to begin with that are high quality. So getting one on sale, and you always have to buy them on sale, but getting them on sale, particularly 58% off the list, this is a particularly good deal. And then a couple of interesting straps. This strap is really, it's 30% off, but it comes with like a quick release plate, you know, attachment. So I kind of like this idea. Now, I wouldn't put my OM5 or EM5, you know, on here, but my OM1, maybe my OM3, you know, if you have a base plate, like a full metal base plate on your camera already, this might be an interesting solution. So I just thought I'd show you that. I don't have any specific recommendation for this, but if you know, you never know what kind of solution that, or let me rephrase, I don't know what solutions you guys are looking for all the time, right? I'm just making my best guess, and this might be one solution for you for whatever it is that you want to mount this way. And it's on sale, so that's why I put that there. But if you don't care about that plate, you can just get the strap. And the strap is, you know, $15. So this is a good deal. You know, it has sort of that quick adjustment type. What do you call it? It has a quick adjustment strap. I forget the buckle. Yeah, it's a quick adjustment buckle here. So I like that. I like that. Now, what I would do is I would buy some Peak Design connectors so that I can take the strap on and off the camera to add to this. I think I have those on my, if we click up here on my page, I have another, the little things that help. I think it's in here. Oh, I need to find that. Quick release. Let me see if it comes up. So there's 10 there, but you want to get the combo. Where's the pack that I bought? Let me just go into my shopping history real quick. Be right here. Oh, it's not available anymore. So what was it called exactly? Quick release buckles. Give me a second, I'll find it. So if I click on this one, it should take me to the kit. I like the ones that are Peak Design compatible. Here it is. I'm gonna add this to my deal page. So if you buy that strap, I would recommend this. There's some variations of this but these are Peak Design compatible. So if you ever do buy a Peak Design or somebody gives you a Peak Design thing as a gift, you're going to be able to interchange it with these, right? I didn't buy this exact one. The exact one that I bought is not available anymore, but this one is the same thing. But that will let you take the strap on and off. And Garbar says, I got my EM5 Mark II yesterday. My wrist already hurts. Below the thumb, I guess. Any tips for avoiding pain? So is it your right hand or left hand? I'm going to assume it's your right hand, the one with the shutter button, right? Basically, you know, because it's, you know, even with a DSLR, you always want to hold most of the weight of the camera in your left hand, right? And then your right hand is free to just navigate all of the buttons and dials and make adjustments. That is the proper way to hold a camera, is with, because you know, too many people are being all gangster and holding their camera out like this. It's so ridiculous when I see people holding their camera out like this. But yeah, uh, always hold. That's the only advice I can give is hold the camera with your left hand. All of the weight should be here, and then you don't have to grip so hard or so tight. You know, you don't have to white knuckle your right hand onto the camera. That's the best advice I can give. And the PGY Tech strap. Yep. And you know, Shri, I think, has the PGY Tech. He really likes it. He had one strap buckle system that was really good. I can't remember what it was. I thought it was a PGY Tech though. And he was really happy with it. The joys 3 days of ERCS online tradings. So the Surface Pro plays videos and I watch Rob. Yep. That's cool. Your M52 guide was awesome. Oh, thank you, Garbar. Yeah, I did make one a couple years ago. Video does pretty well, amazingly. You know, but it's such a good camera. You know, I mean, it's getting a little long in the tooth, meaning, you know, after about 10 years, the camera's life is going to be very limited at that point, depending on how it's taken care of. But like I bought this camera, and it's not unique to this camera. I bought this camera with only 4,000 clicks on it. Very, very low shutter count, but it's from 2013. And I didn't notice the problem until, you know, actually this past weekend. But the little battery inside the camera, not the main battery, but there's a little battery or capacitor inside the camera that keeps track of the time and date. And that's dead. So let's see. I set the time and date yesterday, but I turned the camera on today and it's telling me I need to set the time and date again. And I haven't taken the battery out of the camera, right? I set this camera yesterday and I haven't taken the battery out. And so the battery, the time and date didn't reset immediately. I was able to set the time and date and I checked it like an hour later, it was still on. But overnight, yeah, whatever it is, the capacity, the capacitor that's in here or the battery, because they do it two different ways. Sometimes they have a button cell battery inside that it's not user replaceable. I don't know if I have to read about that online. Sometimes you can take the bottom plate off and you can get to it, but generally it's not user replaceable. So that's one of the problems that's very common with older cameras. The time and date just won't stick because I have another camera that does that, and a friend of mine has a camera. Now you might ask yourself, okay, no big deal, right? But it can affect functions, other functions of the camera. For example, the intervalometer. If it loses, you know, if it loses track of time, yeah, it could stop, or the camera could shut off, or you might not be able to set it. I had that problem with one of the Nikon cameras. It was a D3, which is what, probably 15 years old, right? I couldn't set the intervalometer because the internal clock timer was dead. But that's not the only thing that can die. There's all kinds of capacitors and electronic components that they just age. I know they're solid state and they last a long time, but they do age. And you know, an EM5 Mark II at 10 years, probably got another 5 years easy, but 20 years is pushing it. It's pushing it. Interesting. That changes my grip completely. I'll try it today. Okay. Oh yeah, so Shri does have the PGY. Yeah, and he loves it. Yeah, it was nice when I saw it. It wasn't what I thought it was. Okay. Looks like I'm all caught up. Let me go back to my deal page. I'm going to show you guys a couple other things I found. Let me shut down some of these windows. Okay. All right. Here's some more Canon batteries with a charger. What I like about this charger, so you're getting 2 batteries and a charger for $25. Specifically the LPE6. Again, the same battery we were looking at before. But what I like about this one is the charger tells you how many milliamps it used to charge the battery. So this is really useful uh, for diagnosing issues, right? So with the battery, if it's getting old or what the capacity is, or if you use a lot of generic batteries, you can see how many milliamps it's actually taking the charge. So say for example, uh, this battery, it says rated for 2250. If you look at the fine print, you drain the battery, right? You use it up and it's drained and it's now dead. Then you put it in a charger. Ideally, this little display will say 2250 or more. Ideally, like 2500, but it'll say 2250 or more to recharge that battery. So that means that the fine print is accurate. I can't tell you how many generic batteries I've charged that only reach about 70% typically of what is written on the back, depending how much they're lying about the capacity. But if they're trying to be honest, like Newer is probably trying to be honest here about 2250, I bet this battery is probably closer to 17, 1800 in real life, because it just will not last as long as an OEM battery. And I don't know if, that has to do with the chemistry and the quality of the chemistry that they use in the battery. But yeah, I really appreciate seeing how many milliamps it takes to actually charge the battery. They also show you the voltage. That's a little less useful, but I like this. I like this little charger. I have one. It doesn't have the interchangeable plates and everything, but uh, I like it because this is actually for my Fuji uh, camera. But I like that it includes like its own little cable, but also has a USB-C port here. And again, it has the capacity things in here. So when I plug this in, oh, it doesn't show. But that's why I like this, and it's 25 bucks. So if you have a Canon camera, this is nice, but you can get them for everything else. And then a couple of generic spares. Uh, okay. Nice little backpack from K&F. What I like about K&F is they always give you a lot of dividers, right? Or, more than other camera backpacks that I've seen in many cases. And this is just a simple canvas backpack, nothing special, but it's a great entry-level backpack. It's very small, so you can't pack a ton of stuff in there, but the upside is you're not going to be weighing yourself down when you go out for a short day hike. So sometimes you just need the convenience of the stuff being on your back, and you only pull out things when you need it, rather than using a shoulder strap. A shoulder strap can kind of get in the way a lot of times, particularly when you're carrying multiple lenses and cameras. And just having it on your back is just easier. So this is a nice small backpack, you know, um, lightweight. But so if you only need a backpack once in a while, this is a good little backpack to have. And then that's the memory card. Time will tell on this, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. Uh, there is a filter here, a CPL. I always recommend filters. This is the 77 millimeter thread, so this is more of a full frame type lens thread size, like on the Canons. Like my Canon, I believe this is 77. Come on, Canon. There's two problems here. The print is really, really tiny, and it's not in white letters. It's like in this dark gray. I can't read it. I can read it easier This is a 67. But some of the Canons are 72, 77. But, you know, if you need a 77 millimeter filter thread CPL, you know, this one's 10 bucks. And these work great. I use a lot of newer filters like from Newer, and you know, I don't see any difference in image quality with the filter on or off. They make good quality filters for the money, right? Okay, this is a backpack that I own, that I bought with my own money, and it's been working out great. It's a really good size. Is it here? I have it right here. Uh, Now I've shown this backpack. I showed this backpack off about a year ago when these were on sale for like $59 or something. But anyway, what I like about this backpack, I mean, it's, again, I would call this sort of a mid-tier, between entry level and mid-tier. It's not quite mid-tier. Mid-tier, you know, is a little higher quality, but for the money, $66, this is a really good backpack. Particularly the design. What I like about it is the tripod strap is on the back, not on the bottom. So a lot of times I'll take a smaller, you can put bigger tripods, but a lot of times I take smaller tripods like this. And just being able to strap it in on the back. I just want to show you. And there's a couple other things I want to show you that are really good. So, you know, just being able to put it on the back like this. So it's not dangling around, hitting your butt as you're walking when you put them on the bottom. It's not standing on the side, throwing the balance off, unless you have tripods on both sides, but this only has a pocket on the other side, right? Because this side is for, you know, has the side pocket so you can open up and get to your gear. So this is really good. It's so the backpack stays very balanced, and again, it's not, your tripod's not hitting you in the butt as you're walking. The other thing is the buckles. The buckles have an additional lock here. So, you know, you pinch and squeeze to release, but the strap doesn't slip and get loose because there's an additional lock right here that locks the strap so that it doesn't work itself loose and your tripod falls out. So that's really nice. And of course, side pocket, and it opens from the back. Okay. And the straps have, you know, little D-rings here. These are handy for carrying like some accessories. Another D-ring on this side. And then it has on the top here just sort of a universal compartment to throw things in. And I put dividers in here. And I put lenses and other gear and flashes up here. Because a lot of times flashes, like, you know, my 8200, that fits in here really nice. And also my 8300, you know, this is even bigger, right? This I'd have to put in the top like this. So a lot of times I'll take this backpack and I'll put a light stand in the side pocket here. And I'll put tripods or whatever, another light stand here. And then I'll put the flash mounting brackets like the S1, S2, and a couple flash, or one or two flashes in here like the V1s. And it comes with a lot of dividers. And then you have this flap on top. Now this is primarily, you know, to kind of protect the top a little bit from rain and things like that. Because the zippers are not like your weather sealed YKK style zippers. You know, they're not rubberized here. Well, actually, these are actually pretty tightly ribbed in the zippers. But this just kind of keeps everything nice and neat and tidy. So I'll buckle it there, and then I'll buckle it here, and just pull it down tight, right? And then everything's good. And then when I want to get access to the top, this is kind of awkward. I got mixed feelings about this top flap. Well, it does serve some function, you know, to help protect from rain and stuff coming down from the top. And then the release is very simple. You just flip it up. But anyhow, yeah, nice backpack. There's a handle here. It does stand up straight very easily, especially if you have a tripod mounted here. Because a lot of times when you have a tripod on the side, you set your bag down, it, you know, it could fall over. It's kind of, you know, it's just awkward. It doesn't balance right. But with the tripod on the bottom, all of the weight of the bag is, you know, the center of gravity is very low, right? Anyhow, great backpack for $66. So I can recommend this one. It's been holding up really well. I've had it for a little over a year and no issues with rips or tears. And I've packed this thing pretty heavy, and I've taken it out quite a bit, and it's been pretty good for me. Okay, couple other things. I talked about this. Now, if you have an EM5 Mark III or I think even the OM5 Mark I, this is a nice little half leather case. This one, but if you look carefully, right, the quarter 20 screw, you know, for the tripod is all in one. So this is the only thing, you know, attaching a plate, an Arca Swiss plate to this is really not feasible. You can. It does have a quarter 20 screw on the bottom. You know, it's double threaded on both sides, right? But I found taking the plate on and off, the screw comes out with it. And then it's a pain to get the plate off of the screw. So I don't recommend, if you're going to use a tripod a lot, I don't recommend this half case. But if you know, if you're not really using this on a tripod a lot, then, you know, this offers nice protection and a little bit of an aesthetic for your camera. It is a full metal base plate in the bottom. There's an aluminum plate in the bottom, so it will protect the bottom of the camera very nicely and just overall, right? I have this leather case for a couple of my cameras. It's been fine, but the only thing is like I said, this quarter 20 screw is not conducive to attaching plates on. Once you attach the plate, it's fine. But taking the plate off, a lot of times that screw there comes out with it, and it's just a pain to get the plate off of the screw. I have to use needle nose pliers to get them apart. Okay, now someone had asked a couple of weeks ago about battery holders, like the plastic cases for batteries. I couldn't find any of those, but I did see these, so I put these in here. This is a two battery pack. And then I have another one here that holds 3. 12 bucks to hold 3 batteries with little memory zipper pockets and stuff. This is the only other solution because it is hard to find the little plastic cases for batteries. So this is a good solution. If you do carry multiple batteries with you and you don't have the plastic cases, you need you know, you need a way to secure the batteries so that they don't touch each other. Because a lot of the batteries these days, you know, the contacts are exposed, right? Some manufacturers are getting better, like my Sony and my Fuji batteries don't have the contacts exposed like this. And this is why I say never leave batteries in your car. There's a lot of horror stories out there about people's cars just going up in flames because the battery for whatever reason got shorted out because they kept a ballpoint pen in their glove box with the batteries. I don't know how it happened exactly, but yeah, batteries can short out. They can touch each other in the wrong way, randomly. I mean, it's rare, right? It has to be rare. Otherwise, we'd be hearing about it a lot more. But I've heard enough stories that I'm very, very conscious of bringing spares. If I bring a spare battery, it always goes in a separate pocket by itself, um, or I put it in a pouch. I have a lot of these little pouches. Sometimes I do that, but this is just another solution, right? That makes sense. Very convenient. It also goes on your belt. That's kind of cool. Has a belt hook. Oh, this one will hold 4 batteries. Okay, 4 batteries. So this is a solution rather than using the little plastic ones. And then the rest of the stuff down here, the only other thing I'll mention, there's, because I've talked about all this stuff in the past. I do want to talk about this one device that I bought. I got it I guess it came in last week. It's on sale again. I got it for $229 because it was like 20% off. Now it's 15% off. But this is just, and you have to buy, okay, so basically what this is for backing up your SD cards in the field, right? So I have one in there actually. So you take your SD card, you stick it in there, and then it automatically comes on, SD card backup, and I just push that button, and then you can see it. It just copies. Like that. You can see the progress bar. I got a really slow SD card in there. Uh, so if you travel and you want the simplest way to back up your SD cards, this is it. So you have to buy this. This is just a case, right? Then you have to buy an SSD and stick it inside. Now I had a 2 terabyte SSD laying around because I upgraded my laptop from 2 terabytes to 4 terabytes. And when I took the 2 terabyte SSD out, I didn't really have much use for it. I had it, I did have it like in one of these USB-C uh, thingamajigs, so I could use it as an external SSD. But 2 terabytes doesn't really cut it for desktop laptop use, right? But as a memory card backup, 2 terabytes is more than enough in most cases, unless you do video. But 2 terabytes is more than enough. But you can put up to 8 terabytes in this. So you need to buy a separate NVMe SSD to add to the price that you're paying for this, which is $254. So a 2 terabyte drive is like $200. There was a time when I could buy a 2 terabyte drive for $100, but a 4 terabyte drive. But let's see what the 4 terabytes are going for now. I guess I have to add NVMe. Yeah, they're expensive. 344. You don't need to buy the fastest one, right? Because you're just backing up SD cards. I remember the Intels were pretty cheap. These are all way, way too fast. And when you buy these high-speed ones, sometimes they come with a heat sink, and they're not going to fit in that little box. You need to buy the ones that have no heat sink on them. Or if they do, they just have the sticker type heat sink on them. But anyhow, just buy a brand name, Intel, Crucial, Samsung, Kingston. There's a lot of really top brand SSDs out there, and buy the cheapest one of that in the size that you need. Like I said, you don't need to buy the latest, fastest NVMe SSD. You're just backing up SD cards. But you do need to buy one. All right. That about wraps it up for my shopping today. So let's see. Let me do some more chat. Lauren's here. One-handed camera use is quite common in the street. Do it all the time without issue. But then again, long lenses which are heavy, I've never used on MFT cameras. In that case, I buy a shoulder strap. Yes. So street photography is a little different, but uh, sorry, I was reading this comment. Because usually you have the camera on a strap and you're not holding it the whole time. But you come up to a scene and you say, okay, I think this will be a nice picture. I need to get ready. Then you pick the camera up. I don't know. I'm just, and I know you have a lot of different cameras, everything from the rangefinder style to regular, DSLR and not DSLR, but, mirrorless uh, with a grip, like your Canon RP, right? Wow, I'll tell you, the Canon RP, the Canon R8, those two cameras have probably the most comfortable grip ever. Uh, Second only to the EM1 Mark III, but the EM1 Mark III and the Canon R8 have amazing grips on them. Very, very comfortable. But yeah, if you're not having any issues, you can one-hand it if you want. Peak Design shoulder rope strap is so popular it almost sold out everywhere aside of B&H, which must have loaded up supply. Support genuine Peak Design. They did the work on the development. Yes. Won't argue with that, right? Henning says, I would never again buy a backpack with the opening on the outside. You always have to lay it down on the shoulder straps to put in, take out things. You always have to look out for clean spot. Yes. So what Henning's referring to is the backpack doesn't open in the front, right? It opens in the back where your straps are. So when you lay the backpack down, you lay it down on this side. So when you put the backpack back on your back, you don't have all this dirt or mud and everything on here. So when you lay it down, you do want to put your straps, But anyhow, that's what it's referring to, is that it opens from the back. I'm trying to think. There was a reason I preferred it sometimes to open from the front. But probably 90% of the time if I'm going to buy a backpack, I'm always going to buy one that opens from the back like this. But I'm trying to think of a scenario where I was like, I wish this opened from the front. But that had to be a one-off. But you have one of those aha moments. This is why people buy the ones that open from the front, right? I was like, oh, that's why people still buy those. But I can't remember what it was. Heather says, they are in-person training. Was thinking about your decrease in YouTube income. Side benefit will be gaining subscribers from your students. Maybe I've done some individual tutoring for money, time to time. But lately, I've just been helping people for free, But because I don't treat the YouTube thing really as a business. I mean, it is my business, but I don't treat it as a business strictly. You know, my main goal is just to help as many people as I can. Uh, but if so, I'm trying. I think a better model for me, if I really want to earn money, is to actually have classes, right? And teach groups of people at a time for X number of dollars per person, and it works out. Maybe hold some workshops in the field, things like that. I know David gets on me about that time to time. A lot of people do. They get on to me about that. You should be doing workshops and stuff, a couple $100 a head, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel I can just help people for free too, in a group. Because if I have to charge people, then I have to put a curriculum together, and I have to walk out on this. It's just work. Um, I should do it though, time to time. Like just a couple times a year, maybe do a workshop, get a couple extra bucks. That would be all right. And the Great Vanzini says, I had a friend years ago leave his big cigarette lighter on the dash in the sun. He had been in the car, it would have been plastic shrapnel. Ooh, never heard of a lighter exploding in a car, but I guess it makes sense. It could get hot. Read comment above, okay? Would not want to leave a camera battery in the car either. Yeah, definitely it's a problem. Okay, I appreciate you guys joining me today. Uh, again, you can support the channel by using the affiliate links or going to my deal page for everything that you do throughout the week, not just today, but just click on my deal page, look around there, click on a couple of things, and then if you end up buying something, I'll earn a commission, even if you buy like, I don't know, a book or something, doesn't have to be camera gear, but you have to click on things within 24 hours and make a purchase. Otherwise, Amazon erases any history that you were there because of me, and I don't get credit for it. So, but yeah, it it can be pretty good, pretty good. Nice little pocket money for me here and there. Um, like I think I made 120 bucks last month off Amazon affiliate sales. That's good. That's a couple tanks of gas, right? So it's greatly appreciated, and hopefully I was able to answer your questions and give you some guidance on other products you might be looking for. Thanks everyone for joining me today. You guys have a great rest of your week. Um, I'll be back on Friday for my photo editing stream, and let's see, and then Sunday for the regular photo chat. And I'm going to try and put together the annual meetup. I have a list of people I put together. I'm going to try and get some people I haven't had on before, and maybe not have people I have had on before. Uh, that kind of thing, right? And then I'm going to go out and take some more pictures. So you guys, again, thanks again. We'll see you guys again soon. And remember to eat healthy and exercise. Oops.